right, welcome back. It's actually the transition into the Scott Nagy basketball program. We'll be here till 7 o'clock talking Wright State University men's hoops. And thanks, we had a little technical glitch right there on the radio, but we are back here. Got a really good crowd here tonight. We really appreciate it. And this men's basketball team playing very well. Continues to be on top in the Horizon League. Have won 9 out of their 10 league games. 17-6 overall for the Raiders this season. And Coach Nagy, I know you're really proud, of your team and the way, they've responded this year, and the race now with Northern Kentucky, and of course with that big win over Oakland and also Detroit Mercy this past weekend. Just want to get your thoughts and a chance to kind of consume it and take it all in after this weekend. Just want to hear what you think about your team at this point.
Well, obviously we're very pleased. I thought that both the home games here this weekend, our kids played hard, loose balls, those kind of things, those what we call the 50-50 balls. We came up with a lot of them. We, offensively we're not great. We're not terrible either. We're about middle of the pack in terms of the league, in terms of points per possession. But defensively we're second, and we were really good yesterday on defense. Yeah,
defensively, with this Oakland team coming in, they had won 5 consecutive games. They also boast the second leading scorer in the nation, averaging 30 points in league games, and Kendrick Nunn. And we just shook our head, Coach Brown and I, on the job that Mark Hughes did yesterday defensively. He, along with Everett Winchester and your team as a whole, but especially Mark, the job he did on Nunn.
Yeah, Mark does it every game. He really does. And, we just continue to say that he draws the toughest assignment every game. And he is, he just is giving us everything that he has on the defensive end for sure.
To have a winning season, you have to have other guys step up, and Jalen Hall did that offensively. Loudon Love, again, I think everybody here knows through social media that he is, again, the freshman of the week in the Horizon League. That's 5 out of 7 for the big fella from Illinois. But I'm going to talk about another freshman. Your freshmen have really contributed to this team this year, and that was Jalen Hall stepping up offensively for your team.
Yeah, Jalen is an aggressive offensive player for sure, and there was a point there 2 or 3 games ago where he was really starting to shoot it well, and then I thought in the Detroit game he kind of went back to shooting the ball short and hitting the front of the rim, and he was much more aggressive yesterday. I thought, he scoring 15 points. We just continue to have our freshmen, lead us in scoring a lot, and you would expect it would be Grant, but again, people are sticking so tight to Grant, and Grant's not the kind of player that can create shots for himself. And so if they're going to stick tight to him, the one thing that Grant can do is screen, and when Grant screens, he gets people open.
Well, Jalen yesterday stepped up big, had a couple big threes when Oakland was making a run in that second half and got it back to double digits, and the Raiders, went on to get that victory over the Golden Grizzlies. But I find it interesting. I think back early in the season, and I know, with freshmen, you just don't know what you get, but you've always been confident about Jalen. You said this is a guy that's going to get better and better by season's end. Well, we have a month left in the season, and we're seeing that.
Yeah, and he's the one guy that had no experience at all. At least Everett and Loudon had experience watching the game, sitting on the sidelines, and hearing us talk about things and making adjustments. Jalen, obviously, he's coming in here as a high school player last year, and we knew that of all the players, he would probably make the biggest jump.
Talked yesterday about your rebounding. I was extremely impressed with how we rebounded against Oakland. They've got size inside, 2 big guys, and Loudon had, 17 rebounds? But it wasn't just him. It was a cumulative effort of your basketball team.
Yeah, when we played Oakland at Oakland, we were just as good defensively, first shot defense, but we couldn't get a rebound. I think we gave up 19 offensive rebounds to them, and we had 20 turnovers. And the difference really between that game at Oakland and the game that we had yesterday at Wright State was we rebounded the ball, we took care of the ball.
And you got a lot of offensive rebounds too.
We just had a lot of energy to us. We did, and we talked about this. I think that they just kind of wore down. Being on the road can take its toll on you, and they basically play 6 players, and our guys, you saw there in the second half, and I think it was indicative of just their effort. There was the one play where we had 3 straight offensive rebounds, and then we ended up going to the free throw line.
One thing that people see what Loudon does statistically, rebounding and of course scoring. But one thing that I think he adds to this team is setting screens. His screens are.
The one at Detroit, that guy went down.
Yeah, and I didn't see it.
Oh, we did. It was right in front of us.
Well, I know it was in front of you guys, and I don't know if I was talking to somebody else but I looked over and saw the young man on the floor, and I just asked somebody, was it a legal screen? Just please tell me it was a legal screen. But yeah, I mean, when you run into him, you know it for sure.
I think the president called and he said that's the wall he's going to put up on the south of the border.
Yeah.
But it's, that was an impressive screen. But I'm talking about screens where he handed the ball off yesterday to Jalen Hall, I think, and just turned and created space. I mean,
Yeah.
And that stuff goes unnoticed, but it's hard to get around him.
Oh, he's huge, and not only is he big, but he's strong, and I agree. And it's not just ball screens, where he can make a difference. It's the away screens too.
And he's gotten so good at posting up. That's kind of like I wanted to ask you this because basketball's changed. We've talked about this before. Basketball's changed. You don't see a whole lot of teams with scoring post players anymore. They have forwards that play in there, but he's a legitimate scoring post player.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to shoot a jump shot all year, and he still doesn't post as hard as I would like him to. I think sometimes he takes the easy route and kind of goes to 12 feet to catch the ball. I want him to post deeper. I want him to make people front him so that we can throw the ball over the top, or we can get people open on skips and things like that. And so we're still working on them. The two things we continue to work on with is posting deeper, and when you ball screen, roll hard. And sometimes he kind of hangs out in the middle. And so, I'm always going to find things to complain about, but he's having an awfully good year.
And he sure has. 5 times freshman of the week. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But he's gotten so much better with recognizing when to pass out of the double team and do it quickly.
Yeah, he's doing a way, way better job of taking care of the basketball, and he's really cut down on his turnovers here about the past 4 games. He's starting to see some double teams, and he's making good decisions out of them.
He's working a lot with Parker Ernsthaus, and he talked about that down low. When they start doubling up, it gives Parker some shots.
Yeah. I mean, because Parker's usually they're going to come off of Parker because Parker's not an aggressive offensive player, and he hit Parker on a cut, I think, yesterday, and we've been working with Parker and Everett when the ball goes in the post to run to the backside of the rim. That's what we want them to do, is sprint there, because most of the time those are the guys they're going to come off of.
And back to Loudon again. You said early in the season, he's going to get it. We work on these things, and one of the things happened to be, you talked about the technical and the skills, but you said, Loudon, you got to get a little meaner at times. Because, he's such a nice guy. I mean, when you talk with him, but he's got to be, more aggressive out there. And, boy, he has been.
He has been, and he was really aggressive in the first half. And then we started the second half, and he got such a slow start, just kind of lackadaisical when we took him out and, kind of got in his ear a little bit. And then he came back in and played with that same intensity.
Early in the season, you might not remember this, but I was at practice one day, and you hadn't had a whole lot of practices, and you strolled by me and you said, boy, Loudon Love is good, don't you think? And I can remember, I wasn't as convinced as you obviously were. Did you expect him, because I hadn't seen him every day like you have, but did you expect this kind of performance out of him back, when you first started practice?
Yeah, it's hard to know, Coach. It really is. And it's a little bit different in practice because he's just going against almost one player every day.
Yeah.
He's going against Parker. He and Parker were just sick of each other by the end of the 6 weeks, and they're so happy to play together now. But his stats in practice were incredible. They really were, and I thought that he could rebound the ball. He's even in high school, he was not a great finisher, and he started out the year early in the year, and he didn't finish a lot of stuff. But boy, he's starting to finish things now. And probably if he went over there tonight, he would be in the gym tonight. And we had the day off today, but he would be in there doing the mic and drill and just shooting layups and shooting free throws.
Well, you can tell he's done it because he's as good left-handed as he is right-handed.
He has, I would say, his tendencies. Generally a post player, we say he's right shoulder, left shoulder. Loudon can go over both shoulders.
It's a handful to guard.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this too, and we're talking about Loudon Love and also Everett Winchester being redshirt freshmen. Not I'm going to talk about it specifically, but your philosophy, on redshirting freshmen, just general philosophy. You just don't know until before the season.
I don't have a philosophy. Okay. If I could make the decision for all of them, I would say they should all redshirt. Even for Jalen, he would benefit so much from having a year to spend more time in the weight room like James is doing right now. But we needed Jalen in terms of depth, and so I think it would be a good year for everybody. But you're gonna have to wait until the season gets going and you practice, and then you have a better idea of how much time a guy's going to play. And we always talk about what they're going to trade is this first year where they're not, they may get 5 to 10 minutes a game for their fifth year where they're probably going to play 35 minutes a game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, especially when you got 4 freshmen coming in next year. But that's next year, and you focus on this year. And the only focus that you have, as we well know, is the upcoming game, and that one is with Cleveland State on Thursday. And found it interesting in the post-game press conference yesterday. You're already prepping your team, mentally for that game.
Well, I think that we have to. I mean, it just is. When you're in the conference season, there's no time to just spend time, celebrating victories. I mean, you have to get ready for the next game, and it would be easy. In my opinion, I've coached a lot of kids. When people experience success, that's the hardest thing for them to handle. The losing is almost easier, and you can get kids past that. But sometimes the success, they start to hear other people tell them how great they are, and so then I have to be the one that has to tell them that they're not that great. It's a very difficult thing to handle success, and so that's what we've been working on, and that's what I've been probably the most pleased with our guys, is how they've handled it and prepared themselves for the next game.
And you've said it many times, and we can tell, Coach Brown, and I will get your thoughts on this too, that every player on this team is highly competitive. They come from winning backgrounds. And I guess you can draw on that Milwaukee loss too, and how bad that felt to keep motivating you.
Yeah, there's the only good thing about losing is it reminds you how good winning is, and then you want to get back to that. And so, but certainly I don't need to feel that way. I already know what it feels like to lose, and I know how great it is to win. And, I think that, I heard you ask Katrina, who takes it harder, the players or the coaches. But the coaches always take it hard. I've been on teams where the players don't take it so hard, but our basketball team does. And really, I've always told our players, I don't want to be around anybody that can't stand losing. I mean, you just don't belong in our program if it doesn't make you sick.
Well, you hear that all the time, whatever sport it might be, is, the culture, of that program. And, once they get that winning culture, it's something they just don't want to let go of. And you have the type of players who are playing that way right now. I was talking to a few people who came out and just want to say, great crowd on Friday night against Detroit Mercy, 7,500. Good crowd, close to 5,000 yesterday. And, the guys love playing in front of that home crowd. They came out. They were able to help support you. But I'm hearing there's just a buzz out there in the crowd right now. People saying, we really love to watch this team play.
Well, it's a fun group. I love coaching them. I really do. They're just great young men that care a lot about each other and play unselfishly. And, and I think you can just reference Grant there. I mean, Grant took 9 shots yesterday, scored 5 points, but he was really good defensively on Walker and just did some other things for us. And so, when he's the main focus, yet he's willing to score less points and do some other things, it's just indicative of the team and the group that we're coaching right now. I really do enjoy it.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll have more of the Scott Nagy Show here at TJ Thompson Fairborn when we return. This is Wright State University basketball.
The dreams of Orville and Wilbur climbing up over the silver lining seemed to many a waste of time trying. But before others could find it, the science behind it, the brothers were flying. They might think leaving our feet would be a feat too steep, but not for the dreamers. They might say there's no way, it's better to stay safe, but not for believers. At Wright State, our goal remains central. We are the pioneers of potential.
Welcome back to the Scott Nagy Show. We're back here at the Fairborn TJ Chumps, and we'll be back here once again next week. And we're talking Wright State University men's basketball. The first place Raiders, 9-1 in league play, 17-6 overall. And next up will be the Vikings of Cleveland State for the first time this year. The Raiders will play the final team they haven't seen yet in the league coming up on this next road trip. That will also include Youngstown State. Coach Nagy, your team. You're playing the 7-man rotation, and the guys, the way you're able to distribute the minutes, you and your assistants. I know Coach Brown talks about that. He's been saying that for the last 4 or 5 games. And what a great job that you and your assistants are doing, getting guys in and out.
Well, it's mostly the assistants that are doing it. I really honestly don't pay a lot of attention to it. Every once in a while I yell at them about why a guy's going in or not coming out, but for the most part, they take care of that. And the players, we're not playing at breakneck speed. We just can't with 7 guys. We play at a decent pace, but the players have done a good job of taking care of themselves. Number one, I mean, we always talk about that away from the courts, getting your rest, eating right, all those things are, all the choices you make are about your basketball team. And I think we work hard in practice to make sure that we get the right things done in practice and not practice too long.
And that's all about self-discipline, among the players. You can tell them all you want, but unless they do it themselves.
Yeah, and for a 20-year-old kid, it's not always easy to make great decisions about when to go to bed or what to eat or what to drink. And but when you talk about the decisions you make and how they impact other people and the people that you care about, then you tend to make better decisions.
You're awfully proud. I know you said awfully proud of the way the team has played on the floor, but also during Academic Recognition Day yesterday at the arena. 11 of your 13 players were honored for their ability in class.
Yeah, 11 of the 13 guys with a cumulative 3.0, and I went back there at halftime and nobody was in there. I said, "Where is everybody?" So they're still out on the basketball court. But yeah, I mean, we're really proud of what those guys are doing, and let's be honest, it's why they're here. I mean, and people talk about that all the time. That for some kids that's not why they're here, but for me that's very important because this basketball, this thing's going to end, and they need to be ready for what's going to happen after basketball.
I've had several of the women players and men players in my coaching class, and your academic advisor Megan Watson does a great job. She stays on top of stuff. I mean, she's wanting to know what's going on, and
she makes sure that those guys are organized in what they do, not only with their classroom stuff, but their study time and their practices, and she has them write it all out, and so she really helps them keep organized.
The thing I'm impressed about her is she's committed. I mean, it's really important to her.
Oh yeah, she loves those kids, and she also works with women's softball, but. I mean, and the kids love her. I mean, when you walk by her office, there's 4 or 5 kids in there all the time. They like being with her because they trust her and they know she cares about them.
And that's important. I think it's really, really important that the person that's in that position is committed to making sure kids are doing the right things academically. And if you don't have that, that makes it so much more difficult.
Yeah, and we use Megan in the recruiting process too. She does a great job, meets with the parents and the kid, and sometimes the parents are a lot more interested in that than the kid is at that point. But by this time this thing's over, that kid better be very interested in it.
Yeah.
The expectation levels on the floor and as far as practice and games, but also we talked about in the classroom. But another thing I know, Coach, that you're really proud of is your team doing things in the community. One thing that some of the players went out and read to some second graders today, in the Beaver Creek Elementary School, right?
Yeah. I think all of them did. I think Coach Goff took all of them over there, and they enjoy that. I mean, obviously we did the Samaritan's Feet thing on Saturday morning, and then they went out, and we played yesterday, and then they're up in the morning going and doing those things. And certainly Coach Goff sets those up, but our players do a great job with those kids.
Go ahead, Coach.
Well, it's so important because I did a lot of that when I was at Wright State as an assistant coach, did tons of those kinds of things. And you'd be amazed. Years later, kids come up to you and say, Coach Brown, I was in the 5th grade when you brought that team over to read to us or to do math problems with us. I mean, it's so cool. It is an impression. At the time you do it, you don't think it's that big of a deal. But the impression those players have on those kids, those young kids, is priceless, and it's so cool that you keep doing that stuff.
Yeah, well, the players love it, and it would be a lot more difficult to do it if we didn't have such good kids.
Yeah, speaking of players and the student athletes, I got to meet one yesterday who is signed, and that's Jeremiah Davenport, who came up along with, I think it was his mother who's with him. Maybe I just met him briefly. He's a tall kid. He's a nice young man, too, and you can tell he's another man from Moeller.
Yeah. All of our kids that we signed are all having great years, and I know we've talked about that, but their teams are having great years. The most losses any one of their teams has is 3. So the 4 kids we signed are all they're all like 18-2 or 17-3 or 19-1, and so they're all having great years, and they're used to winning, which is important to us.
I think Boulder plays up here this week. So, any of you Wright State fans, I think they play at Springfield either tomorrow. No, not tomorrow night because Springfield's at Beaver Creek, but maybe it's this weekend. They play at Springfield. Boulder does. So.
Yeah, I guess I should know that, but I don't because we're obviously going to be on the road,
right.
And so we won't be able to see it.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit, too, about, recruiting itself. You got 4 coming in next year. Obviously you can't talk about, who you're looking at now who hasn't been signed, but classes beyond this next year. Are you looking beyond 2019 and 2020 right now?
Probably not beyond 2020. It's a little difficult for us to recruit kids that are freshmen. Right. That would be the 2021 class. But we are, heavily involved with the 2019 class and have had a lot of those young men on campus, and even some 2020s on campus. And so it's nice to be able to get your recruiting done for the 2018 class and then focus on your junior and sophomore classes.
And that's balance of classes too. That's something I'm sure you and your staff always
we try to keep 3 in each class if we can, and so we have 4 this year. Next year we'll have 3 seniors, and so we'll be able to have a pretty good balance.
Now, what about conditioning? And also, this team, I think, have really been impressed with that right now. Knock on wood, how they've been to this point as far as, playing with a 7-man rotation. Of course, Loudon and Everett took advantage of being able to lift weights, get a lot bigger coming into the season. Obviously, it's an advantage to them, taking that redshirt year.
Well, for sure. I think, and if you look at him physically, like for Loudon, he needed to lose the weight. Everett needed to put weight on. And obviously that's what James is doing this year. And our strength and conditioning coach does a great job. Cole does a great job with our players, and they really respect him, and he works them hard.
James, you mentioned James Mans, and, also we had a chance to talk to Bill Wampler, last week. Really a great young man, very confident, and he's just looking forward to being able to, participate next year once he's eligible after transferring from Drake. What's it been like when you watch these guys? Obviously, they can't play this year, but you're redshirting them, and there could be a player for you next year. What do you like about these guys? What they're going to bring to the team?
When guys sit out, they always look great. They do, because there's no pressure.
That's right.
And they come to practice, they have no pressure on them. And so Loud and Everett, they looked great last year, and then
well, it's worked out for them.
Well, and it has, but then they look different when the pressure's on. Right. And so for Bill and James right now, they can't miss a shot. I mean, they look unbelievable because they can come to practice and they know we're really not paying attention. Then we're paying attention to the guys that are playing. There's no pressure on them, and so they're always on a scout team, and we can't get them stopped. We can't stop either one of them right now. I will say, without question, those two are going to provide great shooting for us. They both can put the ball in the basket and have great range, and James is really a tough guard because of his size and how he handles the ball. What James has to do is learn how to play defense. Nobody's really ever asked him to play the kind of defense that we are, but Bill can really do all of it. He handles it a little bit. He really shoots it. He's strong. He's a good athlete.
Plus, you're getting a lot of experience in him.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not.
Yeah, I mean, Bill played at Drake. I mean, he obviously played 2 years in a very good conference, and so there's certainly nothing's going to shake him here.
Well,
and James, nothing's going to shake James. I mean, James is so
cool.
loose, and
Yes, he is.
he just like the problem with James is that in a game where you might be up 10 with 2 minutes to go, he'll take a shot with 30 seconds on the shot clock because he thinks he's going to make every shot.
One time he'll do that.
One time. That's right.
But in a pressure situation, he'll never feel it because he thinks every shot's going in.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about defense. He has a great opportunity to watch how well your team is playing defense right now. He can pick up some pointers by watching.
He's gotten a lot better this year defensively. He knows it's important to us, and he's working hard on it.
All right, you got this game coming up with Cleveland State. Obviously, were the guys off today? Were they?
We were off today. We'll start on Cleveland State tomorrow morning.
All right, then another road trip. I know you don't look ahead, but just letting fans know, Youngstown State after that. But then it's home games, and then finish up the season with IUPUI and UCC.
Youngstown State, I mean, they even though we won the game, they physically whipped us here. They beat us up on the glass, and they look like a bunch of linebackers and defensive backs in the NFL, and so that's certainly going to be a challenge for us on the road.
And then the Raiders will be back home for 4 consecutive games before finishing out the season at IUPUI on a Friday morning game, and then at UIC at the end of the month before the Little Caesars tournament. But a long way to go, Coach.
Long way to go, for sure. There's a lot to be done, and so the key is just keeping the players focused on the next task at hand.
All right, so far so good to this point. Thanks, Coach. We got a couple of players coming up next. Jalen Hall will be joining us, as well as one of the members of your staff, somebody that you know pretty well.
Yeah, I've been around him a little bit. My son, Nick Nagy, so it'll be interesting to see how he does on the radio.
Okay, no pressure on you at all, Nick. All right, stay with us. We'll be back with more of the Scott Nagy Show when we return to the Fairborn TJ Chumps. This is Wright State University basketball.
Please join us for Wright State's annual Arts Gala on March 24th. Enjoy an amazing evening of performances by our incredible fine and performing arts students, plus fine dining and auction items too. All proceeds support art scholarships to help our students succeed. That's Arts Gala on March 24th. For tickets, call or click.
And a great crowd here tonight, along with Hall of Fame coach Jim Brown. We are talking Wright State University men's hoops. The Raiders currently first in the Horizon League after 10 games. They were 9-1, 17-6 overall. Next up will be the Vikings of Cleveland State this coming Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And, you know, Coach Brown, we always enjoy this part where Coach was with us for 30 minutes, and he so graciously allows members of his staff and also the student athletes to join us. And get a lot of great response on this, and been looking forward to this. I found out today, had a pinch hit for somebody we originally had scheduled, but Nick Nagy is with us right now, and I think, Nick, a lot of people don't realize, yes, your dad is the head coach here, but you got quite the responsibility with this team. Tell the fans, you know, first of all, what your position is with the team.
Well, I'm the administrative assistant. I fill in for David McKinley, who was here last year. So I just kind of handle, like, I'll do the office work. I fill out the paperwork for coaches, you know, kind of just do whatever they ask of me. I'm in charge of planning meals for the team, whether we're on the road or at home, make sure we're all fed and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty important.
And that's a big, important job, especially with this group.
Absolutely. On the road, make sure they're eating right. You know, no fries. I know Jalen likes to eat fries back there. Make sure he's not eating any fries.
So you're the food police also?
Kind of. It's between me and Coach Goff. We make sure they're trying not to eat too much fried food. And then also I handle all the video. I guess you could say I'm the video coordinator too, so I handle all the video stuff with the team, make sure we're getting the film after the game to all the coaches that need it and all that kind of stuff too.
You got quite a responsibility with the team this year, don't you?
Yeah, it's been a tough ride so far. Not too tough, but I would say I've learned a lot so far, especially just from where I was at the beginning of the year to now. I'm definitely I've gotten into a little bit better role, I'd say.
You know, it's not easy for somebody. They can sit back there and they see you up here, and it's like when you put these headsets on and you're in front of these people and all those people are listening out there watching on the video stream, it's a whole lot different. But you're showing a lot of poise right now. And I guess that comes honestly because your dad, he's always so cool on the sideline.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely more calm, I would say, at this time of the year than he is at the beginning of the year. You know, every now and then he'll let something out a little bit, but he's been. I think he's been pretty good this season so far.
Okay, yeah. Well, we know what Scott's like. We talked to him for half an hour, but we need to know a little bit more about Grandpa. All right, Dick Nagy.
Yeah.
He is so intense.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Because he was for those who don't know, he was a coach with Lou Henson at Illinois, also with Jimmy Collins at UIC, and just a great background in coaching. He was at UIC. I know when I started doing games at Wright State, and they had some great teams, with the Flames. But he is so passionate about basketball.
Oh, he absolutely is. You see him almost at every home game this year. He hasn't been to the last few, I think, but he's sitting right behind the bench. He's, if it's quiet enough, you can hear him yelling at the refs, yelling at whoever needs to get back on defense or something. But that's what we kind of like about Grandpa Nagy. He's just always into the game. He's always yelling, and it's kind of, he doesn't think it's too funny, but we think it's kind of funny just to hear him.
So at the family gatherings, you sit there and he probably wants to challenge you to a game of something, right?
Oh yeah. We're all the Nagys are pretty competitive. Any type of board game or anything. I think the last time Grandpa Nagy played a board game with us, my mom got pretty mad at him just with how competitive he was trying to win.
Don't mess with your mom.
No, you don't want to mess with her. When she gets mad, watch out.
Well, you've done a really great job. I know you'll come up to Coach Brown and I afterwards, and we appreciate it. I mean, I just tell you this right now. You want to make sure, hey, you guys want something at the end of the game?Maybe sometimes yes, no, but you always ask, and I just wanted to let you know we appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure do.
Yeah.
Very
doing my job.
You talked about the video thing. Every time I come down in the morning when we're on the road, Clint and Brian, our eyes are glued to the computer looking at future games or whatever. And you set that all up for them, right? I mean, is that something that you do to transfer stuff to their computer? Do they do that themselves, or how's that work?
A little bit. There's an online database where all the film is uploaded to. Just kind of when we're at home, I make sure all our games are uploaded there so they can watch that. And it's just, basically they log in and make sure all that film is on there. And if they need any help with, maybe the internet's not working right or a game's not uploaded, I can, contact whoever I need to contact, make sure the video's uploaded right and they can watch their film.
Talk a little bit about some of the things that you're allowed to do and you're not allowed to do. Now, I know you're not allowed to actually coach on the floor. It's kind of funny because Coach Donlin Sr. was in your position when he was here, and he violated that rule about every day.
Yeah.
But you're actually not allowed to coach on the floor, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm a non-coaching staff member, so you're not supposed to pass the ball, rebound for the players, any kind of that stuff. What we kind of say is we help coach the coaches. Basically, we help with anything with the coaches, more behind the scenes stuff than really the X's and the O's.
Yeah, that's got to be. I mean, I've talked with you about this before. You want to kind of get into the administrative part of sports, right? Or do you?
Right. So I'm getting my master's degree actually in sport leadership and management. So I kind of want to go into that management role. Whether I'm a big NBA guy, so something even in the NBA
That's
where
what
I
I
can get
thought.
into a management role, something like that would be awesome.
Yeah, I thought that's what you wanted to do, get into the professional side of it, not as an agent, but as working with a team in the front office and stuff like that.
Front office stuff, scouting, video, any kind of that kind of stuff. I think would be really cool to do.
I got to ask you this question then. If that's the side you want to go into, we hear a lot about analytics,
Right.
within every sport. Talk about that a little bit. I know that some of the assistant coaches here are really big on that.
Oh yeah, like we're always, we're looking at Ken Palm is kind of a college analytics website that we're always looking at, just kind of seeing where we are. It's fun to see all the analytics side, but there's also you gotta just kind of take that stuff into consideration, take it kind of with a grain of salt, and you can't just look at all the numbers. You gotta look at the player side too, and just how they all mesh together is a big part of it too. You don't just want to look at all analytics.
Sometimes in media, and I know when I first started, you get so engulfed in all these statistics. But sometimes statistics, they can lie. Not sometimes, but a lot of times they do.
Yeah.
But now you're getting it down to where I know Coach Brown has always done this too, and he keeps possessions. How efficient are you on each possession? That's something I'm sure that you and the staff also follow.
Yeah, that's actually my job on the bench there. I keep track of how many possessions we have, how many possessions the other team has, make sure, we're keeping track of how many points we score per possession. That's a big part of our defense. We want to make sure we're under 1 point per possession. So I keep track of all that stuff on the bench there and make sure I'm giving it over to Coach Cooley. He likes to keep track of that stuff during the games.
Well, those numbers look pretty good on Friday night, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. And they have looked all season, really. For the season, I believe we're under 1 point per possession, which is, we've been preaching that for a while, so we're pretty happy with that.
There was a time on Friday night where we had 27 points, and I think we had only had 13 possessions. And that's better than 2 points a possession. It was incredible how we were scoring at such a proficient pace. I mean, you knew it couldn't last forever, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, and again, on the offensive side, anytime you're over 1 point per possession, you're doing pretty well. So obviously, if we're scoring 27 points on 13 possessions, that's pretty good.
Well, Nick Nagy, we appreciate it. We thank you for what you've done with the team this year, and still a long way to go, as you just heard your dad say a few moments ago. And thanks for coming by tonight. We do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, administrative assistant with Wright State men's basketball, Nick Nagy. We'll be back with more. We'll be talking with one of the freshmen on this team, a true freshman. Jalen Hall is coming up next to TJ Chumps in Fairborn. This is Wright State University basketball.
Please join us for Wright State's annual Arts Gala March 24th. Enjoy amazing performances by our incredible art students, plus fine dining and auction items too. All proceeds support art scholarships. That's Arts Gala on March 24th.
And welcome back to TJ Chumps. I'm Chris Collins along with Hall of Fame coach Jim Brown to Mike's team right. And now in the middle, as promised, we have true freshman Jalen Hall from Houston, Texas, and also by way of playing high school through Louisville, Kentucky. Jalen, the second time that we've had you on, this year, and it's great to see you back here again. And something Coach Brown has talked about all season long when we've watched you play, even being a true freshman, you're somebody who's not scared. You don't play scared out there on the basketball court.
Well, yeah, I love the game of basketball, so I don't believe in having nerves or being scared.
Well, the one thing we were talking about before you came on during this break was the fact that you're always in touch with your dad. He always has a few comments after every game, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, he breaks the game down from the tip-off to the last buzzer. So
Yeah, I asked you before when you came on, I said, did your parents watch the game yesterday? And I said, well, does your dad call you after the game? And what did you tell me?
Those are usually hour phone calls, multiple hours. So
Great to hear from Dad.
yeah, always great to hear from him.
Absolutely.
Well, you played extremely well yesterday. I mean, when you came into the game, and I think that's what's impressive because it's hard. It's hard to have the mentality to come in the game and not worry about doing something wrong and getting taken out right away. A lot of people that don't start, they come into the game and they're worried about, if I make a mistake, I'm going to come out. I have never seen that with you or Everett. And yesterday you came in and, boy, you immediately impacted the game.
Well, yeah, I seen the team struggling, and that's my job coming off the bench, giving them guys a little uplift, a little boost, and it worked yesterday. Everything fell in place.
Well, sometimes in scouting reports, and I certainly was guilty of this as a coach, you focus a lot on the 5 starters and what they do. And sometimes you don't spend a significant amount of time on the 6th, 7th, and 8th man. And I'm not saying that that's what's happened here, but you come into the game, and if they forget about you, they're going to pay the price.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I actually like the coming off the bench, 7th man behind Everett, because we don't really scout the 6th, 7th man. So I'm kind of the surprise when I come into the game. So I actually like that role.
Well,
It's growing on me.
I was just going to say, shooting-wise, I noticed in shoot-around yesterday before the game, and I just had a thought that, you know what, you might be hitting some shots because you were making a lot of shots in the practice and the shoot-around early in the day.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can always tell when I'm feeling it. In the last 2 games, I've been feeling it, so I'm going to try to continue to keep that feeling.
And the team really needs that because this is really a solid team because not everybody is going to have, a great game at night, day, whenever it's being played. But for somebody to step up, there's always somebody to step up, and you were able to do that yesterday.
But yeah, well, definitely. I seen Grant struggling, so I know it's always a perfect opportunity to step in and fill that offensive role when our senior is struggling. So that's what I did, and it worked yesterday.
Yeah, you heard Coach Nagy talking about Grant. He's somebody, hey, you know what? I can't get the shots. They're all over me, so I'll set some screens for some other guys, and you were open, and you knocked down some big ones.
Yeah, definitely. He's not a typical senior, which if he's not feeling it or shots aren't falling, that he's going to continue to force the issue. He was actually the main guy that kept coming to me during timeouts, even while we were in the game, and just kept encouraging me to keep being aggressive, keep taking shots. So,
what's it like playing with this group? Because people, I've told Coach just about 20 minutes ago when he was on, I said, I'm hearing a lot of buzz from people who are coming to the games and they see the games and they think this team really plays well together, a real cohesive group. Is that something you feel? Obviously you do because you guys are always helping each other out.
Well, I definitely believe over time, especially during the off season, we became brothers, and I feel like that helps our relationship on the court because it doesn't matter if you're doing good or doing bad. We're always going to pick each other up.
What was it like for you in the transition, though? When you first came here as a true freshman, we talked about Everett, we talked about Loudon Love, who are redshirt freshmen who were here a year ago. But for you, it's right from high school, right into Division I college basketball.
Well, they welcomed me. It wasn't really that hard of a transition. The workouts and stuff were, but feeling like I'm welcome in my role, that just came over time.
What were the expectation levels? I know for yourself. I know the coaches laid everything out. You knew what they expected of you. But what about Jalen Hall?
My expectations are through the roof. I feel like I still haven't reached my expectations. But for the coaches, I really don't believe that they thought I was going to be doing what I'm doing this year. Or they thought I was going to be doing it, but not as soon as I are doing it. So
we were up in Milwaukee last weekend, and it was a year ago. Chris and I were eating at the Italian place across the street from the Hyatt Hotel, and in walked the 2 assistant coaches, Clint and Brian, and they immediately came over to our table because they were so excited that they had just gotten word that you had committed to Wright State. And I'll never forget that because the smiles on their faces were true, and they were.
It was not only the spaghetti and meatballs there too. It was because they were really excited. You're right, Coach.
But the thing that is impressive and why I think you're so valuable to this team, Jalen, is because you can play multiple positions, and I preach this all the time when I talk to young kids. don't just be a point guard. Just don't be a shooting guard. Learn to play both positions. And you can even play the small forward. You play the wing position. You play the two-guard position. You play the point guard position. And that's a tribute to you because you've had to work really hard as a young player to be able to play those multiple positions.
Well, definitely. Point guard was something that I always knew how to play. I was actually taught to play point guard before I was taught to play shooting guard. In high school, I didn't hit my growth spurt until the beginning of my junior year. I grew 6 inches, so being a point guard is just something that comes natural to me. But learning to become a scorer and learning to become a two guard, that's something I'm still learning today.
Right. You know, yesterday you tried to posterize a player from
The dunk attempt.
from Oakland, and as soon as you did that, I glanced over to Coach Nagy, and of course you know what he did. He wasn't real happy.
Yeah.
But he didn't take you out. You stayed in the game, right?
Yeah, I don't think Coach Nagy will get happy. Gets happy when I try to do those things. If I don't get fouled, I know he really doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But I know he likes my aggressiveness, and he's not going to tell me not to attempt.
That was an aggressive move. It really was, and it didn't work out. But next time it probably will. It was just, I mean, that took some courage to do that, and you went right to the basket, and that was it was a pretty impressive move.
Yeah, I just wish I would have made it.
Yeah, I do too.
I really do.
He's still thinking about it. Maybe
Yes,
talk to his dad
still.
for an hour about that one. We'll take a break. Jalen will be back in just a moment. We'll have more of the Scott Nagy Show when we return to the Fairborn TJ Chumps. This is Wright State University basketball.
The Horizon League Men's and Women's Basketball Championships invade Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th with an NCAA tournament automatic bid at stake. Don't miss your chance to see elite college basketball action as all 10 Horizon League teams battle for conference bragging rights. Fans can reserve their seat by contacting their university box office today. For more information, visit horizonleague.com. Experience Motor City Madness at Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th.
Along with Hall of Fame coach Jim Brown and the true freshman, Jalen Hall, joining us here tonight during the Scott Nagy Show. We got about 10 minutes remaining. Just want to thank everybody for coming out again here tonight. The support has just been terrific. The team off to a 9-1 start in the Horizon League. They have a game advantage. They're in first place over Northern Kentucky, and it's another game coming up against Cleveland State, on Thursday, Jalen. And, we had Bill Wampler on last week, one of the new members of the team. He has to sit out transfer rules from Drake, and he's got that little thing on the hair up on the top of the head. I mentioned to him, I said, you've got a team barber in Jalen Hall. We talked about that before. Have you ever thought about getting the scissors out?
I definitely have. But with Bill, he actually promised me something. He said once he's able to play, he said he was going to cut his hair. So I'm going to hold that against him.
So he's going to cut his hair.
Yeah, he said he was going to cut his hair.
Oh,
so.
look, you've already cut hair for a lot of the players, and also you mentioned Nick, who joined you just a few moments ago. He cut his hair here recently.
Yeah, I definitely have. Nick actually came over to my house and got his hair cut. That's how serious it was. So I had to get them together.
He's looking good back there.
Yeah.
You're drumming up some business right now. Well, you take this serious. You do a really good job at it.
Yeah, it's a hobby that I'm just kind of letting it grow on me.
Well, you're also cutting through defenses too. When you're on the basketball court, that's good to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about the fact that you could play multiple positions, but you're the same. That transcends to the defense too. You've had to guard multiple people. You've had to guard the point guard. You've had to guard the two position, and even sometimes you're going against a guy with some size. How's that been?
That's been the biggest adjustment for me, especially since the beginning of the year. That's something that the coaches preach for me. They're not really worried about my offensive abilities. It's always been about defense, and that's something I feel like I've improved on tremendously since the beginning of the season.
Well, I definitely agree. We started this season. A lot of people have forgotten this, but we started the season 0-3.
Yeah.
And it's incredible what's happened since then. It's just really incredible when you stop and think about it. What are we? 17 and
17-6 overall.
Yeah,
17 out of 20.
Yeah, so we're 17-3 since those first three games. And in those first three games, when I talked to Coach Nagy after the game, his biggest concern was defense. We just weren't guarding people, and this team has certainly bought into the preaching that the coaching staff has done regarding defense. And I mentioned this the other day. I think it's remarkable, and you fall into this category. I think Everett falls into this category, and certainly Mark Hughes does. You're not affected by missing a shot and it goes down to the other end. And I look at it, and you're not thinking about that. You're focused on the defense, and I think that's a tribute to you guys individually to have that mindset where if things aren't working offensively, it doesn't bother your defense.
Yeah, that's something definitely that the coaches preach every day in practice. That's something that Coach Sargent talks to me about all the time, just keeping a positive attitude. And the play that just happened is over with. You got to move on. So that's the game of basketball.
Defense has been this calling card for this team, this year, and it's a team thing. And, Coach Nagy, even during the first 3 games of the season, when the team was not playing its best basketball and dropped their first 3, but he continued to say, and he said it every week when we were on the show, he said, I really believe in these guys, and once they believe in themselves, he expected good things. Well, he turned out to be a prophet to this point.
Oh, yeah, we work on defense every day. It doesn't matter if we got a game the next day or we just got out of a game. So we're real consistent about putting defense first, and I feel like that's became our face.
And how important is it, the game-by-game approach? It's cliche to a lot of people and sports fans, but it really is important here because they stress it. You're only as good as your next game, and right now your complete focus is on Cleveland State for Thursday.
Well, yeah, I know the coaches preach it, but I also just kept the mindset of you got to worry about the game in front of you. Can't look further down. So, yeah, I'm not really sure why other teams do that, because that puts you in a bad position. But I know that's something that we don't do as a team.
Is that something that you picked up through playing through high school and also during your AAU ball, as far as taking that one game by game steps?
Well, definitely in high school, playing in the Sweet 16, you got to take one game at a time.
Kentucky, yeah,
because you have a game every day. You don't really have time to practice, so you got to take one game at a time. If you don't, that's where you lose focus and you might let one slip.
One of the differences you have in college, when you're in high school, you have a head coach, and practices are so different because he doesn't have 3 assistants to help him. And so when you go to a practice in college, you get so much more individual attention. I mean, am I right in saying that? I mean, you're getting more individual attention from the coaching staff than you ever do in high school.
Yeah, definitely, especially me. Taking that firsthand, coming from high school, only having one coach, you get away with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But on the next level, you have 4 or 5 coaches watching you at all times, so they're not going to let anything slide, and they're real specific on making sure you do all the little details.
And Jalen, that's something the coaching staff talked about when you came in here. They said he is so coachable. He's like a sponge. He just wants to soak everything up, and that just makes you a better player. And to have that type of attitude, is a great attribute for you. And also, you're able to work with coaches who want to work with you and make you better.
Yeah, I just want to be the best player I could possibly be. If that's taking little things from each coach and picking their brains and just absorbing as much as I could absorb while I'm here.
I talked to some of the players, too, after this weekend, having 2 wins over Detroit Mercy and then a big win over Oakland yesterday. Having the great crowd support is really exciting for you as players. Yeah, you're focused on the game and what you're doing, but then again, you really like the enthusiasm they bring, and it can help.
I really love the environment the last 2 games. I really feed off of the energy the crowd brings. I feel like I'm at my best when we have a decent crowd. So I really appreciate everybody that's been coming out.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you came in and hit those 2 threes yesterday, you woke a lot of people up.
Coach been talking about that all year, so we thank you for that. Real quick, we got a minute left. We want to talk about everybody on this team, and there was a story recently, about Trey, on the bench, and he's like the captain, of the bench on this team. What's it like? I mean, he is something else to be around, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Trey's a character. Trey's the type of player, if you don't stand up when somebody hits a shot or when somebody comes out the game, he's going to let you have it. So
Trey Stacy we're talking about.
Yeah, so I just respect him. Even though that he doesn't contribute on the floor, he contributes in other ways. So I just respect him for that.
You know, it's so important to have a lot of these guys on this team. You know, I mean, a lot of people, you know, they don't talk about it, but the things that they do, you know, in the
little
background,
things.
you know, little things like, you know, and Adam also, you know, and Invest, you know, all these guys, you know, they're an integral part, you know, to the success of this team.
Yeah, believe it or not, we probably have the best scout team in America. So, yeah, they push us every day. Adam Giles is a bull, probably the strongest player I've ever had to play against.
He sure is.
Well, he has to be going against Loudon Love in practice.
Yeah, I mean, he makes Loudon look small at times. So, Allen, he's been out with injury, but he been pushing me since I've gotten here.
And one tough guy also, I know you got a lot of respect for, Trey Wilburn. That's one tough, strong young man.
Yeah, Ty, he's a bull with the ball. When he wants to get to a spot, he gets there just with his strength, and he's so small.
All right, Jalen, we're running out of time. Thanks again. We really appreciate you joining us here tonight on the Scott Nagy Show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, for Coach Brown, this is Chris Collins. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here tonight. The Raiders in action again Thursday night at Cleveland State on ESPN3. Coach Brown and I will have the broadcast, too, on 106.5, beginning at 6:45, and the tip-off at 7 from Cleveland. Thanks again for being with us at the Scott Nagy Show from Fairborn TJ Chumps. This is Chris Collins saying thank you, and this is Wright State University basketball.